Think of the golden age of Los Angeles, that magical atmosphere of the 1930s. Massive film studios, the sound of saxophones rising from jazz clubs, and tabloid flashes popping on every corner. Those glittering steps to fame that fueled the dreams of every young person. But behind this radiance, in the shadows of directors' chairs and behind the closed doors of luxury mansions, were secrets known only to the people of that era. The story of Ryan Hammons pulls back these dusty curtains exactly 70 years later, in the most unexpected way, from a small child's bedroom in Oklahoma. Pause. It all began when Ryan was just 4 years old. Ryan didn't play with superheroes or toy cars like his peers. In his mind, memories of another world, of a long-dead man, were echoing. The little boy constantly talked about living in a crowded city. Ryan talked about houses with massive pools, collections of luxury cars, and most importantly, his 3 old daughters, as he cried out to his own family, "You are not my real family. I want to go back to my old life in Los Angeles." The sadness in his eyes was too heavy for a 4-year-old to carry. Ryan claimed that he was once an influential Hollywood agent. This claim would turn into one of the most shocking proofs of reincarnation in world history, thanks to a single black and white photo found by chance in a library catalogue. This photograph was the beginning of a case where 54 different personal details were proven, astonishing even the famous researcher Dr. Jim Tucker from the University of Virginia. This story was not just the return of a soul, but the exhumation of Hollywood's most hidden and deepest memories. Ryan's memories began to surface when he had just started to speak. However, these memories manifested more as a deep mourning and longing than a child's colorful fantasy world. Even while walking the quiet streets of Oklahoma, Ryan carried the bustle of Hollywood Boulevard in his mind. He would wake up in the middle of the night screaming, "My heart is stopping. Everything is turning black," and cry, clinging to his mother Cindy. As Ryan described his luxury life in Los Angeles, he laid out scenes like a film strip. "Mom, I used to have a very big, blue pool. We used to throw big parties in my garden. Famous film producers would come. We would sign contracts with them." Ryan rejected his modest life in Oklahoma. To him, this place was a prison. His mother, Cindy, was starting to get scared that her son was speaking with such precise and detailed terminology. How could a child know words like agent or contract? Mother Cindy decided to look for a way out. She borrowed old film catalogs about Hollywood's golden age from the public library. When she returned home, she and Ryan began turning the pages together. And then, that moment happened. When the page came to the 1930 to film tonight, Ryan's finger suddenly locked onto a figure. In a trembling voice, Ryan said, "That's me. This man is me." Cindy was frozen. The person he pointed to was an ordinary extra whose identity was unknown at that time. Cindy realized at that moment that everything had changed and contacted Dr. Jim Tucker without delay. When Dr. Tucker took over the case, his first task was to research the identity of the mysterious man in the photo. After weeks of meticulous research in film archives, the man's identity was finally determined: Monty Martin. Martin was a successful Hollywood agent of his time who died of a heart attack in 1964 at the age of 61. Ryan's claim was confirmed in the first step. However, to eliminate the possibility of this being a coincidence, Dr. Tucker subjected Ryan to cross-examinations and detailed interviews. Ryan's accounts of Monty Martin's life included 54 different details that were not in any public biography and could only be known by those closest to him. Ryan listed Martin's exact Beverly Hills address, the types of trees in front of his house, and the fact that Martin had been married 5 times. He even knew who Martin had fought with during a trip. Perhaps the most shocking evidence was Ryan's exact repetition of a spelling error and a special form of address that Martin used in old letters to his sister, known only to family members. This information was neither on the internet nor in any official record. Ryan had carried Martin's soul to Oklahoma, along with all his private archives. The final stage of the investigation was Ryan's introduction to Motty Martin's daughter, who was still alive. This meeting became a moment that pushed the limits of science. A 4-year-old boy sat across from a woman in her 70s and began to tell her about the special gifts her father had bought for her as a child and the vacations they had taken together. The elderly woman burst into tears. The young boy before her was telling secrets her father had taken to his grave. This meeting removed all doubts. Dr. Jim Tucker stated that this was the strongest case of reincarnation ever recorded. As Ryan grew, memories of Motty Martin began to fade. Hollywood's glamour was replaced by an ordinary teenager's dreams. But the great question remained, is memory just a biochemical product? Or is consciousness universal data, like a hard drive that can be plugged into a new device? Perhaps death isn't darkness, but just a change of scenery. The former Hollywood agent finished his final act, proving the true depth of life to us all. To understand the images in Ryan's mind, we must rewind to 1930s Hollywood. Motty Martin was not just an extra. He was one of the powerful names behind the big studios. That brief scene in Night After Night was just the tip of the iceberg. Martin drank with the biggest stars, managed $10 million contracts, and hosted parties at elite Beverly Hills mansions that lasted until dawn. Motty Martin's story began on the glittering Broadway stages. While a successful dancer, his sharp intellect pushed him into the world of talent management. He chose not just to entertain, but to manage the biggest stars of the era. Moving to Los Angeles, his only assets were his massive dreams. He soon founded his own agency and represented Hollywood's most prestigious names. Behind Ryan's claim, "I was an agent," lay this grand success story that once ruled the film industry. For Motty Martin, success was the grand life he provided for his family. His Beverly Hills mansion stood like a fortress of Hollywood royalty. In interviews, Ryan described the large white piano in the living room and the sound of palm trees swaying outside in great detail. Martin was a devoted father. The expensive gifts he bought and the luxury vacations they shared would resurface years later, the clearest scenes in a young child's mind, bridging to very different lives. Martin was a hidden power in Hollywood. Ryan insisted that his father was close friends with legends like Rita Hayworth and spent time with them. Martin was a key figure who defended actors' rights and signed major contracts during the studio era. The fact that Ryan, as a young child, provided such private information about Hollywood's golden age was one of the strongest pieces of evidence that stunned Dr. Tucker. The scientific world remained silent before these details. Every life ends, but Martin's farewell was a wound in Ryan's mind. When Martin died in a hospital in 1964, he left secrets behind. In interviews, Ryan described the cold room, the moment his heart stopped, and his soul leaving his body, as if it happened yesterday. For Dr. Tucker, this was the most shocking part. How could a child remember someone else's final breath so clearly? Science was helpless at this point, and Ryan said he still felt the coldness of that moment. Science struggled to dismiss Ryan's story as a coincidence. Dr. Jim Tucker suggests that if energy cannot be destroyed, consciousness may exist independently of the body. The non-local consciousness theory in quantum physics states that memories are stored in a universal field, not just the brain. Perhaps Ryan, like a radio, tuned into Motty Martin's frequency. This suggests that life is far more complex than we imagine, challenging our basic understanding. What made Ryan's case unique was not just a general story, but a specific data set of 55 points. When Dr. Tucker investigated this list, he found that everything from the old addresses Ryan mentioned to the names of Martin's children, and even the most secret details of Martin's life, was accurate. These 55 points were too consistent for a child to invent. As each point was verified, the doors to a scientific miracle were slowly swinging open. The most striking points on the list were details known only to Martin's closest circle. Ryan described everything from the color of the piano in Martin's old house to the type of tree in the garden, and even the secret drawer in Martin's desk. When Dr. Tucker confirmed these details with Martin's family, he was shaken by the accuracy of every single point. Ryan possessed the intimate memories of a man who died 50 years ago like a movie reel. This was far beyond a simple childhood fantasy. Remembering everything was not always a miracle for a young child. As Ryan grew older, he began to feel trapped between the memories of two different lives. Monty Martin's luxury, Hollywood glamour, and losses weighed heavily on Ryan's childhood world. The moment he told Dr. Tucker, "I just want to be Ryan now," was the saddest part of the case. Shadows of the past were disrupting the peace of the present. For Ryan, this process turned into a struggle to say goodbye to an old soul. Time began to act as both a healer and a thief for Ryan. By his elementary school years, those vivid and sharp memories of Monty Martin gradually started to fade. According to Dr. Tucker's observations, children in reincarnation cases usually begin to forget their past lives after the age of 7. As Ryan's mind erased the glittering scenes of Hollywood, it replaced them with memories of his own childhood. The past was slowly giving way to the future. He no longer spoke of luxurious parties at dinner. Ryan was even beginning to forget the 55-point list he once knew by heart. For his mother, Cindy, this was a great relief. The burden of being to different people was finally lifting from her son's shoulders. However, for the scientific world, this forgetting process was recorded as one of the most mysterious proofs of how consciousness resets itself. The old soul was slowly retreating, and Ryan was waking up to his own life. Before the finale, let's remember this fact: 51 out of the 55 specific details Ryan provided were verified 100% by official records. This child, who knew about the secret marriages of a man he had never met, the names of his children, and the hidden drawers in his house, even terrified Monty Martin's family. This was not just a childhood story. It was the most flawless and documented reincarnation case in history. Science still cannot fully explain the source of this information. Dr. Tucker sealed this case in the archives of the University of Virginia with the noteful accuracy. The theory of non-local consciousness in quantum physics suggests that memories are not stored in brain cells, but in a universal data field. Perhaps Ryan, like a radio, had tuned into the right frequency. This case became the strongest evidence, challenging the scientific thesis that consciousness is independent of the body. The boundaries of life may be much wider than we think. Today, Ryan Hammons is a young adult who has left those turbulent years behind. He no longer remembers that former glamorous life. However, he says he still carries a wisdom beyond his years and an unexplainable sadness in his heart. He has chosen to live an ordinary life, moving beyond being just a case in medical literature. Even if Ryan has forgotten, the world will never close that mysterious door he opened. He was a silent witness standing on the edge of two lives. Ryan's story whispers to us that life is not just comprised of that short line between birth and death. If there is such a thing as a soul, each of us might be a continuing sentence in a giant, 1,000-year-old story. Ryan proved the existence of this universal memory to us for a moment, and then fell silent. Now it's our turn. How much do we really know about our own past? Is it possible to know which lands our souls have walked upon before? The mysteries of life are much deeper than we imagine. Is Ryan Hammons' story a proof for you, or just an unexplainable coincidence? And what about you? Have you ever felt that you lived in another life before? Be sure to share your thoughts and any similar experiences in the comments. We will read them all one by one. See you in the next video full of mysteries. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Stay tuned.